guest joining us on the Comcast Business Hotline. He does a great job covering the Sixers for Liberty Ballers. Mr. Paul Hudrick on the Comcast Business Hotline. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing all right, Tyrone. How are you?
Well, it's funny you ask that. All right. Here's the thing, Paul. Even when we did Outsiders a few times together, I've known you for a long time. I'm not a big person on questioning effort. I usually think, for the most part, in pro sports, everyone tries hard and the better team wins. Or there's a couple bounces here and there, or, coaching moves, whatever it might be. But with the Sixers lately, effort to me has to be a question. Who is most responsible? Maybe a first, second, third. I don't know the right way to put it. But who's responsible for this team's seeming lack of effort lately?
I think first and foremost, it has to be on the players. And look, of course, like Nick Nurse is not going to be absolved of blame here because he is the head coach of the team, and it is his job to have his team ready to play. But at the same time, these are professional athletes. This isn't this isn't a rec league basketball team. Like, these are professional guys making millions of dollars. This is their job, and it's their job to be ready. And it's not to make an excuse, but it certainly doesn't seem like a coincidence that we saw Joel Embiid in the current state he's in, and the news that they're kind of evaluating now whether or not he's going to shut it down for the season or continue to play, whatever. I don't think it's a coincidence that as that's going on, the product on the court and the players are kind of checking out, because the reality is, and Tyrone, this has always been the case, right, since forever. If Joel Embiid is not healthy, then the Sixers team has no chance. So we all know that. The players are smart. They know that. So when everything's going on with Joel Embiid and he looks the way he has, and again, the news that he might not make it to the rest of the season, I think that's going to have a mental impact on the rest of the team. And again, that's not an excuse. You cannot get beat on your home floor and be down by 50 points to the Chicago Bulls when you have two all-star players playing. That's simply inexcusable. So, again, Nick Nurse certainly gets part of the blame because it's his job, but I think the players are really, for the effort thing, I think the players are number one on the list.
Look, I understand everybody feels a little bit beat up because that's what's happening to them. They're getting beat up badly. But is there an answer that sits on that bench? Is there a guy that could step up right now and at least insert some energy?
Well, I think it's up to Tyrese Maxey. And so if we're going to kind of look at where Nick Nurse can have influence here and can really kind of make it, he needs to empower Tyrese Maxey to the umph degree. Like he needs to say to Tyrese Maxey, and look, these conversations might already be taking place. I don't know, but he needs to, to Tyrese Maxey, this is your team right now. Now, to me, this is another conversation, but to me, this needs to be Tyrese Maxey's team now and for the future. But right now, this is Tyrese Maxey's team. So if they want to keep trying to win games, which they seem to want to keep trying to do, even though the effort on the court hasn't bared that out, this is Tyrese's team. He needs to be the guy. Their best stretch of the season occurred when it was, Embiid was out, Paul George was out, and it was Tyrese Maxey looking like a superstar over the course of a few weeks. They had won 4 straight games. They gave the Celtics and the Nuggets all they could handle, the last 2 teams to win the championship. So to me, if I'm Nick Nurse and I still want to win games, I'm going to Tyrese Maxey, who is the most talented player that is left, who is going to play hard every night and who wants to win. And I'm saying, this is your show. Take it over, and then I'm going to do everything in my power to empower him.
Paul George. Now apparently he's taking a break from his podcast so he can get his body right, get locked in and all this stuff. But, he's been worse than Tobias Harris. I know he hasn't been healthy, but is it fair to ask them to at least be more competitive against some of the bad teams when you have Paul George and Maxey out there? I know they're not going to necessarily beat the good teams, but the Bulls had lost 6 in a row. What should we be expecting from Paul George at this point in year 1 of his contract?
Right. Well, what's funny is, to start that game, I'm glad I didn't tweet it out, but I was going to say, wow, this is actually the best Paul George has actually looked in a few weeks to start the game. He had a couple drives where he actually got all the way to the rim and finished. He had a couple of nice defensive possessions. Then we obviously know how the rest of the game played out. But, look, health is an issue. It's been an obvious issue. But what is the old rule, right? If you're on the court, if you're healthy enough to shoot up and play, then you need to play, and you need to play at a high level. And he has not. And that's the expectation is when you sign a guy like that to a max-level contract that you're going to get, high-level play, and that hasn't been the case. And I don't want to, I'm not going to defend him too much, but I think I know it was reported that he's having injections. He confirmed that. If he's getting injections, that's not for his finger, like the pinky that he's been doing. That's for something probably lower body. I mean, that's probably like a hip or a knee issue. So, and he said before the All-Star break that he's dealing with a groin issue. So my thing is, like, if you're at that point where you're playing so poorly that you can't be good enough to help the basketball team, you just need to stop playing. And the same case for Joel Embiid, because I think that was the other night against the Nets. It was so obvious that they were better when he wasn't playing. And unfortunately, he's such a competitor. He's, and he's been such a great player that in his brain, he can't realize, wow, I'm actually hurting the team by being out there. And I think Paul George is kind of in that same boat because those guys have had such great careers. They've had so much success. They're kind of not in the moment and seeing like, hey, maybe it would be better for me to sit this out, let Tyrese do his thing, and let us try to stack some wins now, and then I'll come back when I'm fully healthy. And I think with Paul George, that has not been the case all year.
Do you think this team just got to a point where, I mean, if Paul George isn't doing his podcast, obviously this was probably talked about in a look in the mirror for everybody on this Sixers team about what happened against that Bulls team. Do you think they had some type of meeting and it was like, hey, guys, we got to finish this season?
I'm curious myself, Ricky. That is one of the thoughts I had. Is like if he's doing this now when they are 17 games below 500, 2 or 3.5 games out of the 10 seed. Like maybe this is something that should have happened sooner. So you wonder what the catalyst is. Was it such an embarrassing loss that he just kind of took it, or like you said, Ricky? I think, and Nick Nurse said that to us after the game. He said, "Look, this is a lot of guys have to go and look themselves in the mirror. We need to finish the season out professionally." Whatever that term means, but, and maybe that was one of the things when Paul George reflected and looked in the mirror and said, hey, maybe I need to do this. Now, again, maybe this is something that should have occurred much sooner than them being nearly 20 games below 500 when they were in a much more realistic spot to catch the Bulls and to get into the play-in picture and maybe make a little bit of noise. But as each game passes and each game they lose, that seems so less realistic. He even said that himself. He said it was far-fetched. So it's interesting. The timing is interesting. The need to do it now is interesting. Like I to be really honest, I was very confused why he felt the need to come out with that right now.
We're speaking with Paul Hudrick. He does a tremendous job covering the Sixers for Liberty Ballers. Yeah, I was thinking, and this is me speaking, not you, Paul, like it's so bad now he can't avoid it on the podcast, so he'd rather not do it on the podcast and just talk about how bad he's been all season. Okay, let's be unrealistic for just a moment. Is there any chance they can get themselves back to the 10 seed? Like I'm saying, is there any chance that they can get themselves not properly to the playoffs? That's long gone. Is there any chance they can get to the play-in game for a chance to lose to Cleveland in the first round?
I don't see it, only because the Nets were playing pretty well, but then they just lost to the Wizards the other night, so there's that. But and the Bulls are still a mess, even though they're hanging on to that 10 seed. The team you might want to watch out for is the Raptors, who are actually behind the Sixers. I believe they have the easiest remaining schedule in the NBA. They're finally healthy. Emmanuel Quickley's finally back playing and playing well. R.J. Barrett's playing well, and Scotty Barnes in there playing well. So, they actually have, right now, they probably have a better collection of talent than any of the other teams I just named, including the Sixers at this point. So, yeah, I don't think and then I look at the Sixers schedule, right? Like they played the Knicks tonight without Joel Embiid, without Gershon Yabusele. So I guess Andre Drummond is going to start at center. When I look at that, and then Saturday they have Golden State coming in here. Golden State all of a sudden looks like a brand new team with Jimmy Butler in the fold. And if you look even farther down the road and look at the rest of the Sixers schedule, it's not an easy schedule. Like they play a bunch of. Not only do they play some good teams, they play some not-so-good teams that have things to play for or that are playing better basketball than they are. So until I see kind of what I already talked about earlier, until I see a game where Tyrese Maxey just goes nuts and scores 40 points and they rally behind him and they win and maybe they string together a couple games, until I see something like that, no, I think this team is better off. I hate to say it, but I think this team is better off trying to accumulate losses and improving their lottery odds than it is trying to win games to get in the play.
All right. Is Joel Embiid day to day, week to week, month to month, or never to never?
If I knew that answer, Ricky, I
know, but that's my whole point. Do you feel like we're ever
Yeah.
going to get an answer of if he's going to play this year?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping so. I hope for clarity's sake, even for his sake, because you hear him talk after games, and it's like I think he could use the closure. Frankly, I think like at this point, I might shut him down for his mental state as much as anything, because like he is not in a good place right now when you hear him talk. Saying I'm not myself and I'm not going to be myself until the issue gets fixed. And there is no easy fix for this issue. So like it's whatever he does, whatever kind of treatment plan he goes with, it's going to be difficult for him. It's going to be arduous. He's going to have to, really rehab hard, really strengthen his knee hard, and then, maybe try one of these kind of more, experimental methods. I don't think anything's, up to now, I don't see it being anything surgical. But you never know. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's to me, if it were me, I don't see a single benefit to him playing another minute this season. I think you shut him down. You hit the rehab now, and you do everything in your power to make him healthy for the start of the 25-26 season. I don't know what, he has some input there too. Like it's his body, it's his choice to play. So like, that's a factor as well. But to me, it's in the best interest of the Sixers. It's in the best interest of him to shut it all down. We'll see if that's the case, though.
Well, Paul, we really appreciate your time with us today and making us feel so much better about the situation. Nice job, man. We love your work, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, you got it, guys. Anytime.
All right. That was Paul Hudrick on the Comcast Business Hotline. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate it. If you want more of this content, make sure you like and subscribe. And you can do that kind of over here if you want more of the best show ever.